99X and the Morning X. It's Barnes and Leslie. Fram, I like when listeners do cool things.
Yeah, we like to highlight those things.
Yeah, people, we meet in the wild, tell us, oh, well, I did this, or oh, I did that, or da-da-da-da.
Sure.
I have a cool one that I think people will get a lot out of, and especially certain people. There's a hint. There's a listener of ours named Cesar Wurm, W-U-R-M, who wrote a book called The Powers of Addiction.
Oh, wow.
And I met Cesar probably 10 years ago, and when he told me that he wrote this book, I thought it'd be really cool to have him on after reading it and hearing how brave he was to put it out there. So welcome, Cesar. How are you?
Thank you. Great to be here. Appreciate the opportunity and great seeing you too.
He is from Swanee originally. Can you tell by the accent?
Yes, of course.
Or Brazil. One of those. I can't remember. But Cesar works at, you can say we're,
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Intercontinental hotels and resorts.
So he's, up there in the glassy windows over there by the perimeter.
Congrats on writing this book, first and foremost, and telling your story, The Powers of Addiction, Finding Freedom in Acceptance and Recovery. Tell us, what age were you when you were in this serious predicament?
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. So basically, for a long time, I've always been a big drinker, but really got super heavy in my early 30s. I was about, between 30s and 35. That was really the worst part. That was truly drinking all day and all night. I was like,
how you do that, honestly.
Yeah.
The reason, again, I want to point out, if you are having trouble with alcohol or anything really you could apply it to, I want you to listen to some of these stories and things that have happened to Cesar, because it's not too late to help you. I think some people are in denial, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How long were you in denial, you think?
Oof. Until I really decided to get sober. So I would say, almost 2 decades, right? All in all.
But you tried multiple times to get sober and it didn't work.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And, in my opinion and experience, until you fully get to that point where you acknowledge to yourself, right? It's like, hey, 100%, I can't manage, right? I can't be like other people. I can't just go have one drink, because you may sustain that for a few months or weeks, but then eventually it's going to catch up. And the biggest fear I had was to get to this point, because once you acknowledge, then you can't go back anymore.
Was there one incident, Cesar? Because sometimes people say that one thing where they hit rock bottom that said, okay, now this is the turning point for me.
Yes, there was a combination, to your point. If you compare my rock bottom to most people out there, it was pretty high because I thankfully didn't lose a job, didn't lose my family, was never arrested, but came close.
I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know how. It shocks me.
So was there one moment or one example?
Yeah, so there was one. It was a work event where we had a meeting, and then we went go-karting, and there was no alcohol in any of these events, right? And I was about 6 months sober. I just got like a bad cholesterol results, and that to me was the trigger. I said, well, that I've been trying hard and this sucks, so it's self-pity. And anyway, I went and I went to Publix, got wine, start drinking. And then before the meeting, between the meeting and go-karting, and then in the go-karting, I was going to my car and drinking more and more until it really hit me hard, where I was really incoherent. And then people figure out what's going on with this guy. There was no alcohol, so no one ever thought that I was drunk. So we were in South Florida at that time, and someone said, well, gotta be a heat stroke, right? It was mid of the summer, so it was hot as hell on the go-kart thing. So I jumped on it. I said, yeah. But they had called the ambulance. They called my wife. So eventually, right, they found the wine in my car, and then I couldn't hide anymore. So I would say that, Leslie, that in addiction, in addition to, we had a young daughter, and my dad is an alcoholic. I went through that. It wasn't a pleasant experience as a child. So the combination of those two factors, I said, man, I got to do better.
Cesar Wurm is here. This is a listener who has written a book called The Powers of Addiction, and you would think this is possibly the best headshot ever.
Yeah.
On the, it
looked like a model.
Right out of GQ. You can get the book on Amazon. Want to point out that the story you just told, and these stories, this is not why you're working at IHG. So I want people to be clear to understand this is years ago.
Oh, yeah. Over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing that runs rampant in this book, besides alcoholism, is that you're a liar.
Yes.
And how do you recover from that? It's one thing to recover from being an alcoholic or other drugs, but it's another thing to turn your life around so you're not deceiving people, you're not deceptive, and you have to get people to trust you again.
Yes. Yeah, you're spot on. You gotta earn it. There's no easy way, because to your point, especially let's say in my relationship with Laura, my wife, I mean, it came to a point where she didn't believe a word I said, because once she learned everything.
How could she?
Yeah, and rightfully so, right? So yeah, it has taken us years for her to truly believe me once again.
I mean, you're drinking the amount of vodka that a person or liquor that would need that much water in a day. You were drinking like double and triple of that.
Yeah.
And functioning.
Yes, that's the scary part.
How long did it take you for recovery? How long was that whole journey?
The whole journey, I would say about a year and a half between when I start to, well, perhaps I have a problem, to, okay, I'm done.
And if you're listening and have a problem, there is a number you can call. It's 800-662-HELP, or of course, AA. You talk in this book about working at a hotel. You don't name the brand. This is not your current employer. Mm-hmm. That you were running hotels, and you would go up into the rooms, drink the vodka, fill the little bottle with water, put the cap back on, and stick it back in the minibar.
Yeah.
So not only are you an alcoholic, you're a thief.
Yeah.
You're robbing your employer. I just think it's so brave of you to come out with these stories.
Absolutely.
Knowing that you work for one of the biggest hotel brands in the world right now. That says a lot about where you are and your confidence, because to come out with that has to raise some eyes over there if they actually read it, which they may now. I know a few people in that building listen. But you sell yourself out heavy in this book, and that's just one of the stories.
Yes, you're spot on. It's not something, right, that I'm proud. There's a lot of shame with that, and I think that's the challenge with addicts, because you live a life that is definitely nothing to be proud of, and you get in yourself into habits and situations that is not something you normally would choose to. So absolutely. But I think that the reason why I decided to write is exactly because of it. Because unless addicts come clean and help people understand how messed up and how dark and how you can justify actions like this in your mind, it's very hard to understand. Unless you went through it, you have no idea.
How did you look in the mirror and not be driven? Because there are pictures of you in here. You were much heavier. You could see it in your face. And when you look in the mirror and you see all those people, the liar, the thief, the cheat, but you see a lucky guy who has escaped multiple DUIs, who has a wife that didn't leave him, who has jobs that didn't fire him more, and they were trying to like defend you. Oh, it's heat stroke. You're not an alcoholic.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes in so many flavors.
Yeah.
Like when I see someone at the store, like when I go to Publix early in the morning and I see, that dude dressed nicely, walking the aisle looking for whatever, I don't think, oh, there's an alcoholic starting his day. But Cesar would go and buy box wine because it didn't look as bad as a bottle, and load up, put it in his seat, behind his seat, go park somewhere and get hammered before work.
Yeah.
I mean, that is serious stuff.
It is. It is major. And just to tell you, I put in there just how messed up your mind is. So one of the mornings I went to Publix, I bought some boxed wines, and then I was checking out. The cashier asked me, wow, why you're bringing a lot of wine, right? And I said, yeah, we have a big family, it's for dinner. And she said, yeah, there was this lady, she used to buy wine, pay, and go straight to the restroom and drink there. And then I thought to myself, well, I'm not that bad, right?
Because I go to my car.
Yeah.
Wow.
I bet you have inspired so many other people with this book. What sort of stories have you heard come from this?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people from work that has family member, right, that's going through that has been enlightening. I've had a friend that found an employee that is having this issue and is helping him finding his path. So that's exactly what makes me happy and proud to write, because to your point, Barnes, it's not something I'm proud of what's in there, but hopefully I can help others.
Absolutely.
I would highly suggest picking this up. You can get it on Amazon. It's The Powers of Addiction, Cesar Wurm, and it's Wurm. You can get the book. It's not a long read. You put your heart in this thing, and I think it could help someone. If it helps one person, it was worth it. Also, that number again, if you have a problem, 800-662-HELP. And what I want to know is what's not in the book. So let's talk about
Part
that.
2? Yeah.
I want to know what you didn't put in the book, because you lay it out in here. So thank you for coming in, and most importantly, thanks for being a listener of our show.
Thank you.
I love it. It has been for many years.
Thank you very much. All right, Cesar Wurm, The Powers of Addiction. This is the original. It is 99X.